A new op-ed torching the president on this issue. It argues Biden's, quote, dereliction of his sworn duties is forcing Governor Abbott to take drastic measures and create a national crisis. That's what Biden has done. He's divided the country. It's a crisis now in the country. In focus, 2 of the 25 governors standing with Texas in the fight. Brian Kemp of Georgia and Greg Gianforte, of Montana. Governor Kemp, I'm going to start with you. Yeah. Why did you get on? Because I was watching social media last night, and one after another, all these governors together. Did you call each other?
I don't think we had to call each other on this one, Harris. Thanks for having us on. I mean, this is a no-brainer. Every state now is a border state. When you have Joe Biden's Democratic opponent saying this is outrageous and out of control at the border, when you have Democratic mayors across the country that are saying this is outrageous and something's got to be done, and the Republican governors, we have been standing in solidarity for well over a year, couple of years now on the disaster at the border. I've been down there 4 times myself. The White House and Joe Biden just obviously doesn't get it, or they don't care.
Governor Gianforte, again, we look at a situation that has been devolving for the entire presidency of Joe Biden. And now it's gotten to a point that we're just overwhelmed as a nation. What are you seeing as the ramifications of this, even in your state of Montana?
Yeah, well, let's put a clear point on this. I mean, since Joe Biden has taken office, we've seen 10 million people cross the southern border illegally. That's 10 illegal immigrants for every citizen of the state of Montana. We're seeing the implications here on the northern border. We've been arresting Mexican cartel drug dealers in the state of Montana. We are being overwhelmed. There is no word to describe this except invasion. The open border policy, the Biden administration is making every state a border state, as Governor Kemp said, and it's time for the administration to step up and do their job. That's why it was not a question about whether we were going to stand with Governor Abbott in protecting the southern border.
All right, one more for you. Would you commit resources as Governor Kristi Noem has done? Would you send your National Guard? Would you personally go down there at this point to stand with Texas?
Well, I've been there multiple times. We had Montana National Guard on the southern border most of last year. But let's be clear, the number one responsibility of the federal government is to secure the nation, and they haven't done it. Job one is to secure the border. We've provided resources and will continue to do so.
All right, let me get to this. The Senate is trying to make a border security deal, and the Wall Street Journal editorial board has a risk factor warning for Republicans. It says GOP faces a border reckoning. And here's a part of it. Giving up on a border security bill would be a self-inflicted GOP wound. The President Biden would claim, with cause, that Republicans want border chaos as an election issue rather than solving the problem. Voter anger may over time move from Mr. Biden to the GOP, and the public will have a point. Cynical is the only word that fits Republicans panning a border deal whose details are not even known. Governor Kemp, what's your take?
Yeah, I read that this morning. I mean, I think they make some great points. We need to secure the border, but also hear the Democratic legislators in Congress, railing against Mitch McConnell and other Republicans about the situation. But the fact is, Harris, President Biden could do something about this himself. He can take executive actions. Yep. He can voice, concern for the border. He could, hey, how about going down there and seeing it for yourself and telling people we're not going to allow folks to come across, and instead of, cutting Greg Abbott's razor wire, all work together, state, federal response to secure the border. We shouldn't even be asked to send our resources down there. This is what the federal government is charged in the Constitution with doing, and it's why Governor Abbott's taken the actions that he has. I mean, it's really outrageous that the administration's trying to push this back on the legislative process. Look, I think they should try to get something done. That's my personal opinion. But regardless of whether they do or not, there's actions that the president can take right now to help the governor instead of working against him.
And what would you say he should do first? I mean, you're talking about executive power and bully pulpit. That's not something that we have seen this president do, except for the fact to flip the switch on Donald Trump's former policies.
Well, look, he could incorporate some of former President Trump's policies. They were working before.
Yes.
You know, he could start building the border wall again. He could send messaging that this has got to end. He could send more resources down there. I can tell you just about every governor in the country, I imagine, would be glad to send resources, especially if the president called up and said, hey, we're going to flip the bill for this. Can you send some more people down there? Well, hell yeah, we'd do that.
Governor Gianforte, what are your citizens telling you?
Well, they're very concerned. I mean, the reality that we have today is that Joe Biden, instead of securing the border, has directed Customs and Border Patrol to remove barriers at the southern border. This is exactly the opposite. The only action he's taken was appointing Kamala Harris as the czar for the southern border. That turned out to be a total dud because no action has been taken. And it's up to the states now to step up to do what the federal government won't do.
You know, I did find that one Republican governor of Vermont, unless he's done it in the last 10 or 15 minutes, was not among the 25 of you who were standing with Texas. Don't know if that will change, but I wanted to point it out to our audience. Any thoughts on how this moves forward? We're at the deadline right now, Governor Kemp.
Well, look, I think we're just going to continue to stand with Governor Abbott. I mean, he's not wavering. He hasn't in this whole fight, and a lot of us have been supporting him the whole way, and I think it's sending a great message across the country of who's fighting to make sure our borders are secure in this country.
Governor Gianforte, I'll give you the last word.
Well, it's time to act. The number one responsibility of the federal government is national defense. We have an invasion coming across the southern border. It's time for Joe Biden to step up and do his job.
Gentlemen, thank you. And to the great states of Montana and Georgia, we thank you for the leadership of those states and the citizens, too. God bless.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.